Hello and welcome to Tommy Surfs. I'm Tommy and this is part 3 of turns, the backside top turn. So if you haven't already seen my heel side turn video, I think that was part 1. I recommend looking at it because the heel side turn is basically your backside bottom turn. And so that will help you at least lead up to this turn here. And then what we're going to cover in this video is the transition and not so much the top turn because it's intuitive. Now, something that's very important with all turns is to be as far back on your board as possible with your back foot. So if you happen to use a traction pad, make sure that that traction pad is far back as it'll go. And even when you think it's far back enough, you probably want to move it further back. So now a really good rule of thumb for me is when I look at my boards from the side where I can see the fins as well as the traction pad. When I'm looking at it, I want to make sure that the point where the little kick stop on the traction pad starts is behind or at the edge of my rear fin. Now, if you're riding a thruster, that's really far back, but that's super important because the further your back foot is, the more control you have over your board and the easier it is going to be to set the board on rail. And so the number 2 thing is something you probably heard, when you watch professional surfing and them talking about opening up your shoulders. Now, one of the things they already teach you, they talk about the lead arm and kind of opening up your palm in front of you. I will say that is a very good method, but I'm going to also talk about something that helps me because a lot of my turns, I fail to do that. Talking about turning your palm. So I noticed that there's a couple instructions out there where the method to opening up your shoulders is as you start doing your bottom turn, they want you to put your hand down, palm up, okay? And that does work because as you can see, it opens up the shoulders. Now, for me, it doesn't work. The second I start doing that, I lose total balance, and I don't know why. But the irony of it is, when I look at all my footage of me doing this backside turn, I'll start my bottom turn, and yeah, I'll put my hand down because that's just the way you're leaning, right? But as the hand comes up, the palm already goes up. So I'm not 100% sold on the fact that you have to turn your palm. In fact, I think it looks funny. So you go up, and as your shoulders rotate back, as long as your arm is behind you and is leading the motion, your shoulders will open up, okay? Something I discovered recently on smaller waves with the twice baked, because I just have a lot of time to think because that board, I can be going a lot slower. What I started to do was I get down super low, okay? And as I'm turning up, I started to tell myself, look underneath my arm at the wave versus over my shoulder, okay? So what ends up happening is you end up lifting your arm up because you want to look at the wave. And let's say the wave is about this tall, right? You turn up, look underneath your arm, that'll open up your shoulder, that'll have your palm up, okay? And really it happens so quickly. You drop in, you bottom turn, right? Look underneath your arm, you pivot back down. So in one motion, up, pivot, and your lower body follows, okay? Let your upper body and your hips pull your board back down, okay? And it's probably better to just practice that motion, right? Up, down, do it on dry land, do it on a skateboard. And when I was doing that, basically I have all my weight on my back leg, and I'm actually just floating my front leg. That way your front leg actually is literally following your upper body, okay? It's much harder when you plant it to get a sense of what your lower body's gonna do, okay? Keep your legs tight, like in that position, but if you notice, your free leg will go where your body, right? It'll follow just behind, okay? So I don't want to beat a dead horse, so let's look at some skate footage, and then you'll get a sense of what that looks like. And if you have a surf skate, practice this. And I know we go out there and we, sit there and carve, but literally focus on the technique of what you're trying to accomplish. And here you'll see me lift that leading arm. And I don't put my palm up on this downstroke, but as you can see, just as you lift your arm up, your palm does go up. So that's more a matter of, I think it's a tool to help you remember. And one of the things that technique of looking underneath your arm does is it just reminds you what you're supposed to try to do, which is get that arm up and around. And so you're doing your bottom turn, you're going up to the top of the wave, and I'm just turning around. Sorry. So we'll look at the footage coming back here. And now the one thing I'm doing is I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm just practicing the arm, and it makes it look like I'm surfing a wave that's overhead when you're looking up like this. And that's why I think getting lower and looking underneath your arm is better for smaller waves, and longer drawn out waves, I think you have more time. But you can see I'm putting that arm as far back as it'll go. And one really cool thing about this exercise is you really feel the stretch in your back, and it kind of makes you, I think, more aware of how much you're going to have to do this in the water. And so if you have somebody that can film you, very important. Film yourself skating, film yourself surfing, okay? Not only for the technique, but style, right? If you kind of look at all pro surfers, they have very similar styles because all their fundamental techniques are the same. So now we're going to look at some waves where this first one, if you notice, my arm never goes over my head, and it kind of had this weird pull, which kind of takes the roundness of a turn and just kind of chops it up. I did the same thing there, but luckily there was enough wave. And this third turn, I made it a point to swing my arm around, and this one here, I put my arm as high as I could. And I think that arm coming around not only rounds your turn, it looks better, okay? And there, if you saw, I put my arm way back, which allows you to torque your board more, and so that's how I got a little bit more vertical. So all these waves, if you open up your shoulder, pull your arm back, and again, just a good helpful way to remind yourself while you're actually doing this motion is to look underneath your arm at the wave when you're going through that portion of the turn. Okay, not the whole time. You don't want to be going down the line looking under your arm. You want to look at the wave, but as you're about to like right there, if you saw me lift my arm up, I mean, I didn't look, but that's what it helps remind you, is that you're supposed to lift that arm up and get your shoulder open, your arms back, okay? And it's a really quick thing, so it's not like you're gonna hold it there. So now the last thing I wanna do is look at some pro surfers. If you notice that bottom turn, he doesn't have his palm open, okay? And this is Connor O'Leary. I like how he has both his arms down, but you see how now his lead arm, which is the one closer to the wave, is pulled way back past his shoulder? That's what they mean by open up your shoulders. Now, I haven't really seen any pros actually put their hands down, palm up. Their palms go up as they swing their arm back. So to me, like if Felipe Toledo flipped his hand facing up, I think that would look kind of funny. But again, it's just a reminding tool. This is Gabriel Medina, and same thing, his palms are down, but as you see, as he opens up his arm and he pulls that shoulder back, his arms start to flip open. Now this is Mcfanning, and if you notice here, it's almost like he's looking underneath his arm at the wave. But obviously he's looking down the line. But again, it's just a tool. It's just a reminder and a tool to tell yourself where your arm position needs to be. So one thing that I haven't talked about is your back arm, and maybe we should. That is more of a style choice. I noticed that certain people keep it straight, like Connor O'Leary keeps it straight and down. Felipe Toledo keeps it mid, but mid elevation. Mcfanning likes to keep it up, whereas Gabriel Medina keeps it kind of in the middle. So, well, actually, he keeps it kind of low. So Yeah, I personally like the low, but unfortunately for me, my style is exactly the opposite. I keep it very high, like Mcfanning here. I almost keep it above my head, which I don't really like. So the importance of video footage of yourself is that you can correct these things in a surf skate. So get out there and do it. I wish I had more recent footage. These are kind of all my old stuff of me having learned kind of looking underneath my arm. I think that was the best example of it. Again, it's not like you're actually looking at the wave underneath your arm. You're just telling yourself that, so it's just a tool. When I used to do backside speed generation, backside bottom turns, a lot of times I used to say this word out loud. I used to say heel to remind myself that my back foot, I needed to be on the heel to get my baked potato to do a good bottom turn. And I would literally say it out loud, and people would probably think I was weird, but all right, so I hope you liked the video. I hope this helps. Get out there. Please, if you can, like, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment and let me know. There are plenty of how-to videos out there. How to Rip with Cale Brock. Those are awesome videos. I don't really watch too much of the Surf and Show, but I've seen a couple where he talks about certain things, and it's just a little out of my league. I think he's just a lot better surfer than I am, so it's hard for me to relate. And he surfs a really nice wave. He surfs lowers. He's also one that you can look at. But there are tons of how-to surf tips, all those out there. Look at them. Don't look at just one. Look at as many as possible and use the tips that work best for you.